Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much again for joining me here. Hope you're having a phenomenal weekend. Let's take another look here at Bitcoin and see what's going on. A bit of a struggle bus here, easy way to understand it. And just, kind of looking like a pretty bearish scenario here. So there's no other way around it. We're stuck under that 0.618 fib level. 95.4, 95.5 is a rough estimate. I identified that yesterday as a pretty strong resistance based on local points of control. We can see that retested just a couple of, 3 or 4 hours ago, and it was essentially rejected there too. So even though it's a low volume weekend, we did see a decently large volume candle there get rejected out. And this does kind of look like we're printing either a bearish type of flag or a bearish type of rectangle. So the presumption the price is just going to bounce from here is pretty naive, because simply put, there's not much to identify a shift in momentum or reversal, especially not on a weekend. So what we're going to focus on today is just kind of look at some liquidation levels on both directions, see if there's any merit to the price action going in, in a different direction than it should, or more importantly, just respect these trend lines here and kind of just identify some key areas of consideration for dollar cost averaging too, because that's an important factor. I have limit orders set from 93 to 87,000 in my spot bag. Just keep that in mind. I don't set limit orders for for anything ridiculous as far as just like leverage trades. You don't want to do that. You want to be paying attention to them when you can. I'm also going to get to this list of TA requests here today, if possible, get majority of those taken care of. Thank you for those requests. Sorry for the delay. And congrats to our community members here in our Plus group. These are basically my day trades here with an automated trading bot that I have. We got a good 10% from Solana, 10% from SUI, 10% from Bitcoin, XRP, ICP. Basically, the list goes on. It's been pretty good little last 24 hours for our day trading bot. And again, mainly because it was able to buy that dip and identify those short-term reversals. Now, when I take a look at the charts here, you got to recognize, especially if you're new to the community, I'm not talking about where Bitcoin's going to be in the next 10 to 30 minutes. It's more so 24, 48 hours, perhaps even longer, the overall sentiment there. Because again, as a swing trader, you got to make sure you know what you're trading and you know what you're getting into, right? So if you understand kind of the time frame that you're looking to trade within, that really helps understand what kind of chart you're looking at too. Anyways, liquidation last 7 days on the left hand side here, we can kind of see, as per usual, we mentioned this previously, 92 to 93,000, still that little area of concentration. Okay, but we zoom out a little bit, we recognize that minus the loose estimate of 91 to 93,000, we do have heavier concentrations at 88 to 86,000. So again, partly why I have scaling higher positions as the price goes down lower for entry considerations at those, the upper 80K range. Do I think that's going to happen? I think it's a possibility. Is it a probability at this point? It's honestly hard to say. Until we lose 90,000, there's not much else we can say. I'm going to identify and show you a couple of macro resist areas too as well, because I was talking with my community earlier yesterday, and just kind of somebody was wondering, if 74,000 is a possibility. And I think it's a very low probability, but it is something that we want to be mindful of, and to maybe have some aggressive limit orders down there. But suffice to say, if we look at the liquidation delta, we're seeing more shorts than longs, but it's only 3 billion. I know it sounds pretty low, or pretty high actually. Billions of dollars is a lot of money, but for Bitcoin this is low. We've seen upwards of 30 to 40 billion at any given time when the price was running from 74 to the 85K range. So anyways, at this point here, this is pretty standard. More people taking shorts than longs. It's sensible. It's kind of the right way to go. We have a short position open. We took 20% from 96.5 to 94.5, right? So again, there are different opportunities in the market right now, but shorting altcoins today doesn't seem practical. I'm going to explain that later, obviously, when I look at some altcoins. But for right now, Bitcoin's kind of drawing dead. We can see 96,300 as that local point of control here, or more importantly, this is open interest. Very much the same thing depending on what time frame you're using. And we can recognize that there's a lot of people in at 96.3, but also these late longs here at 94.5. So they may be in profit for the moment, but just be careful taking a late long with Bitcoin at this time. We'll double check and identify a few things, but it just based on patterns alone, which is never a good reason to trade, and of course the descending trend line, those are some contributing factors letting me kind of understand that the price is more likely to go down than up. Okay, now I drew this out here from yesterday, the price, expecting the price to reject off 95.5. It pretty much did that. It hit 95.4 and turned around, but it's now trying again. Okay, again, low volume weekend, folks, not necessarily the best, most optimal time to trade. Taking a look here at the daily time frame, let's recognize this here. SMAs, I want to clarify this because some folks were asking me yesterday too. They had a chart pulled up with the EMAs being below the price action. And as you can see, I don't really use EMAs myself, mainly because I don't day trade. And if you're not familiar, again, this is just based on my 20 years experience, exponential moving averages are much more effective on timeframes, just say 15 minutes or lower. Okay. If you're using the hourly or higher timeframes, which is pretty much my main focus, it doesn't make any sense to use exponential moving averages when you're using larger timeframes. Again, that's just preference, but at this point here, we're below that, kind of indicating that further downside is probable. Okay. So again, the 50-day SMA, 20-day SMA, until we get back up above that, again, we can see this local point of control at 97.3. We've identified that previously, or just say round number 97,000. Secondary to that is at 95.5. So we're traveling into a resistance range once we get to 95.5 to 97,000. So all the more reason why opening a short at 96.5 was very sensible 24, 40 hours ago for us, right? Again, you trade in the trend. The trend right now is down. We got resistance above us. It doesn't make a ton of sense to take a long into that. Breakout traders are very unsuccessful, okay? And again, I say that because I tried to breakout trade for a little while, and it's like beating your head against the wall and expecting different results. It doesn't make a ton of sense to keep trying to fight and swim upstream. It's just a lot more work, okay? Anyways, we're below 50 on the RSI, money flow index dropping down, stochastic swinging down for the second time. A lot of reasons why I wouldn't say the bottom is going to drop out soon, but we want to be mindful of the potential there. Now, I do have a trend line here from before. I think it's on smaller time frames. I think it's a 4-hour trend. We're going to avoid worrying about that for the moment, but the key takeaway here is that 90,000 is a pretty safe presumption of a support level, support range. And we need to respect the fact that, until we break below 90K, we're probably not going to be in, absolute bear town, if you will, right? I think we got to give Bitcoin a chance to hold this lower level. But generally speaking, when you continue to retest these lower ranges, like we're seeing here, this 93, 94K range tested 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, almost a dozen times, right? Or maybe just say 5 to 10 times. It can only hold for so long, right? The bulls are eventually going to either A, run out of money, or B, just give up and concede altogether and start selling their trades, or their Bitcoin rather, and then it'll start trading the wrong direction. So it seems like a distinct probability the price is going to go lower. But again, you got to recognize, folks, I look at the charts strictly how they are. I'm not biased going into this at all. I don't watch any other influencers. I just literally look at the charts in the morning every single day and just kind of tell you my honest opinion. And right now, based on what we see here, this is not a very strong situation. 4-hour time frame to further that, just to kind of let you know, we're below all moving averages. We are also in a scenario where stochastic is trying to swing up, and we're getting, we're trying to trend closer to 50. But until we get back up over 50 in the RSI, I'm not convinced that we're back on track. Money flow index is increasing a little bit, but again, this is a weekend. MFI is very much a false positive on the weekends. If you are, what is that? Market Cipher, I think a lot of folks use. That will give you a lot of false positives because money flow index is a big part of it. Okay, so you got to recognize going into the weekend, MFI looks like it's shooting up. It's because volume's low, and it's just it's a skewed statistic. Okay, because again, it's only looking at the last 14 candles. Anyways, the whole point of me mentioning that is that MFI going higher right now, I'm not super thrilled about that. It doesn't make any sense right now to trade into that. Having said that, MACD is trying to converge as per usual. When you bottom out like this, that's kind of what normally happens. We can see the Ichimoku cloud is confirming. This is pretty much the biggest confirming factor for me. Identifying we're below the trend line. While the lagging span is breaking free from the price action, you can commonly find a lot of success when that happens. You could very well realistically take a long right now and have some success. Again, it's got to be a short-term hold though. And you got to make sure you're not just taking along to the moon, as most people will say, and kind of screwing yourself over there. Because if you're not taking profits, you're not trading, right? You can't call yourself a trader if you don't secure profits. But again, if you take a look at this here, it seems pretty clear to me that we're working ourselves into a descending type of channel. Well, sorry, it's an ascending channel, but it derived from the upside, and we still haven't broken the descending trend line. Okay. If we see this kind of behavior and we're above the cloud, for example, or we're above the 50 or the 20-day SMA and the 4-hour, then I'd feel a little bit more confident about taking a long. Right now, you're just kind of taking a long into a resistance range, and you're just kind of, again, just trying to swim upstream. It's more effort. Doesn't make a lot of sense. So, me personally, go with the flow. We still have a short open for Bitcoin. I think it's probably still it is in very good shape still, and I'm not worried about that. Am I going to take a short with altcoins because of this? No, I think altcoins could very well continue up. We are seeing Bitcoin dominance pulling back here. If that continues, most alts will surge here. I'm going to be covering some alts here soon to kind of identify that, but a lot of them are bottoming out, but mainly because Bitcoin is going sideways for 48 hours, right? It is a very, very curious thing when Bitcoin goes sideways for this long. When you start to see Bollinger Bands start to compress, a breakout is inevitable. So the question is the breakout upwards or downwards? All the indicators are telling us it's going to go down. The only reason it would go up is because market makers are very manipulative. In fact, we didn't really identify this here, but if we look at the 12-hour time frame on liquidation, that may tell us a slightly different story and kind of identify there may be some short-term relief here. Let's see. So we zoom in, I can kind of see here, not really all that much. There's more liquidation on the downside. I mean, we may see 96K, but I think that's a pretty low probability. Either way, there's a pocket of liquidation at 96K and then 94K. We're right in the middle of it. So again, not all that telling, more speculative there. Either way, you get the gist of what I've tried to communicate here. I hope you learned something, benefited. To all those community members who are new to our community, who've joined our Discord and our premium groups, read through our trade alerts. I kind of give you heads up on coins I'm planning to take trades with. This is kind of like a detailed analysis after I analyze the charts for you here publicly. And then, of course, we got a signals guide, kind of just explaining my signals and how they work. If you don't know, if you don't use proper risk tolerance, my signals mean nothing, okay? Again, we secure profits as a community consistently because we know what kind of risk tolerance we have. You got to develop that right away, okay? Other than that, I want to say thanks again for being an awesome part of my life. I hope you all have a great rest of your weekend. We'll see you again soon. Take care.